I always wait about 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds or so, because I don't like wasting my time speaking and nobody can hear what I'm saying. So let's just make sure that we're on this time. Okay, so I saw this quote this morning, and the quote said, small minded people see your talents as a threat, and great minded people see your talents as an asset. And it got me to thinking, right? Because I've got on here for the past year, but it's been happening for more than a year. I've been in the workforce for close to 20 years at this point in my life, and I've never really actually held a leadership position. I've been a leader within my position, but I have never held a position where it's like you're in some kind of management, supervision, you're in charge type of thing, right? So I've dealt with a lot of different managers, middle managers mostly. In my last few jobs, I've had a little more dealings I guess, administrative level leadership, and not in an official capacity, not like I'm directly supervised by them, but I've spoken with them, right? So it's given me some interesting perspectives. It's given me some interesting perspective. Every middle level manager I've ever had, except for maybe one that I can think of, possibly two, but I know one specifically that always comes to mind. They all viewed my talents as a threat. Now, I remember having this conversation with a director of mine before, where I said, I am not the person to sit in the car and have the person who is in a position above me tell me, like, let's say you're driving around my neighborhood and you throw on the GPS, and I'm like, that's the long way because I live here, so I know how to get there. So I'm the driver, but I live in the area, so I actually know the GPS route is not the fastest way to get there. People get mad when I make suggestions. Sometimes at several of my jobs, I've taken the time to make suggestions. Hey, I see what you're doing here, but you brought me in here because I have a talent. I have my own set of gifts and skills, right? So you want me to use those in order to make things run better, right? The answer to that, a lot of times, especially when you're talking about mid management, is no. Because they see you, they view your talents, and they're like, if somebody else views these talents, it's a threat to my position. I don't feel that way. I mean, it can be. I guess there are instances where somebody's talent for something superseded somebody else's, and the company took a look and was like, this person is better at this than the other person. But the way that I view it is, if you're doing your job, there's always going to be a position for you. Like, if you're doing your job, you're working hard. And the thing is, I feel like it's best for that person to work with the person with talent. You know, like, you're delegated and tasked to lead a team. So if you see somebody who's like really good at solving problems that the company keeps coming to them for. Like the company is like, we need to increase our revenues and with this and that. And then you have the people who you're like, here's the blueprint of what we do for the revenues, A, B, C, D, E. Good morning, Cass and Z-Man. Here's what we do for the revenue, A, B, C, D, E. And it's not working, but they're like, just keep doing more of that. And then somebody on your team is like, I've seen this way, I've seen this thing that we're not doing that I think that if we start doing can increase the revenue. To me, if I'm the leader, right, I'm like, this is great, because here's the thing. All right, you lead, you start doing that, right? And then when the revenues increase, I get credit, you get credit, because I worked with you. You're under me, you're on my team, working under me. And I showed the leadership to know what to delegate. Now, let's just say they're like, oh, I really liked this idea that Mark came up with, and it really helped with company profits or whatever, and we want to give him a promotion into a new spot. Well, people come and go. You know what I'm saying? I remember this one particular conversation I had with an administrator at one of my jobs where I expressed the amount of frustration I've had with, over the years, trying to bring my unique gifts into a work environment and being shut down so much, right? So the person said these words to me about my direct supervision. They said that person is doing a disservice to herself and to myself by trying to put me in a box. Meaning, like, if I come to you with outside the box things that I think can change, improve a process, foster more growth or whatever, and I'm coming to you freely, because that's more than my job. That's doing beyond my job. There's so many people, and going back into the office environment reminded me of this. There was someone who literally said, that I heard say, I don't think this is a good idea, but let's let the sink ship. And then they'll realize that this is a bad idea. There's so many people like that, where they're like, this is above my pay grade. If the supervision tells me to do something stupid that I know is going to fail, my bank account still gets this deposit every couple of weeks. So I'm just going to do exactly what I'm told. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I've been that person because of just being stifled so much. But I'm in such a different space mentally right now. This is where I'm at mentally. My goal used to be to get the leader to listen to me. My goal now is to become the leader. I'm not in a leadership position right now, but this motorcyclist, did he fall off his bike? Anyways, I'm not in a leadership position right now, but what I've been doing is that instead of like schedule a meeting with a supervisor who's not trying to listen to me and be like, hey, these are all my ideas, blah, blah, blah. I take my ideas, right? And I put them on paper. This is what I've been doing. I've been putting my ideas on paper, and I've been doing my job, but I've also been selectively deciding which pieces of my ideas I'm going to share to whom and when. So to the person I know who's not going to listen to me, because there's a few of those. There's a few of those where I am, and there's always going to be a few of those, right? I don't bring those ideas to them because two things: they're gonna look at me in a threatening way, in a way that as viewing me as a threat is what I meant by that, and possibly it might even be someone who just takes the idea, repackages it, and uses it for themselves. So I've been finding the right people to share the right ideas with at the right times. Now, I mentioned on a previous live that I feel optimistic because there's possibilities at my job, but that's not the only reason that I feel optimistic. It's a possibility, right? That I do all these things that I'm trying to do to reposition myself in the world. And the job is still like, nah, you can stay where you are. And I've heard, I kind of know that some people, even where I am presently, would love for me to stay where I am. I've had it happen at many companies. It's not specific to one company. I've had companies where higher positions open up and I'm like, hey, I've been working here for X amount of time and I've been doing a good job at what I do, and I'm ready to move on up, demonstrate some growth and whatnot. And they're like, we need you in this department. Like, I'm sure you'd be great in that department, but we need you in this one. So we're just gonna hold you here. So I don't have the mentality of just sit here and wait for someone to bump me up, because that happens based on a lot of times networking, friendship, nepotism. It's so sickening in a way to like having to deal with that for so many years of being in this workforce. Like, it really is. But the thing is, now I'm at the point where I give them a little preview of what I'm capable of doing. So I'm not sitting here like, all right, I'm going to sit in my one spot and I'm going to do all this extra stuff for y'all. I actually had a conversation. Hi, Charicity. I actually had a conversation recently where I was asked about potential expansion of my role, right? But the thing was, the way that it was asked was like, would you be willing to do some kind of hybrid where you're doing this, and my 37-year-old brain, as opposed to my 21-year-old brain, hears things differently. My 21-year-old brain is like more responsibility. So that means that I'm trusted. It means that I have more of a chance to prove my worth. It means that I'm more of an asset to the company. My 37-year-old brain was like, the person who asked me has a tremendous need for this work that they're asking me to do. And before I know it, I could find myself in a position where I am doing 2 jobs and getting paid for one, because I've been there before. So my first response was, absolutely, I would love to do those things that you've asked of me, and I think that I would be great at it. I have experience. I have a lot of experience. But I would need some kind of a compensation for this to take place. So that obviously stalled the discussion some, but it didn't take the discussion off the table. Because like I said, I think so much more strategically now than I have at any point in time in the past. I think so clearly, so well. And so the person who asked me to do those things, hybrid role or whatever, I still have my same role. I don't have a different role yet. But those needs that they have, I have been picking, like let's say there's 30 minutes of my day that I can spend towards doing something that is of value to that person. All right, I'm going to do this thing. Now I am going to do that. Now I'm going to provide this graph, or I'm going to, I'm going to put together this documentation that they need. I do a little bit. I give them a little bit. Oh, that's great. I would love for you to be able to do more of this. Well, I would love to be able to do more of that too. But doing more requires getting more. It's just like when people used to book me as a photographer. I mean, I still get booked as a photographer every once in a while. But when I first started, people acted like they were doing me a favor by giving me gigs. And as like a rookie photographer who just knew about the pictures but didn't know about the business, I didn't realize that people will do whatever they can say or do to get something cheap or free. Right? So then I remember talking to a seasoned photographer that I knew, and this photographer was like, that's why you have to put your services in packages. For an example, like before I would put my services in packages, I used to just snap away. I go to this event and I'm taking like 500-600 pictures, and they're getting 300-400 great pictures, let's say, and they're paying like one rate for it. And the event could be 2 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. They're getting the max from me. So he was just like, you got to have specifically defined numbers. For an example, okay, if you want 200 pictures, the rate is X amount of dollars. If you want the pictures edited in Photoshop, the rate is X amount of dollars. The rate per hour for me being there is this amount of money. And if the event goes over, like if it doesn't start on time, because that's a frequent one, they're like, oh, be there at 5. The event is 5 to 7. And the event starts at like 7 and ends at 10. I only have to be there. I'm only contracted to be there from 5 to 7. So if your event starts at 7, you have to provide extra compensation for me being there an extra 3 hours than I was prepared to be there. So the reason why I say I have it so together now compared to a younger me, the younger me knew a lot of things conceptually. It's not like I wasn't smart enough to know some things. But the thing was, I was a more of a black or white thinker, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. I would be in this same spot, and I would be like, man, I don't work for free. What are you talking about, man? But instead of, so I would basically have responded to that same conversation by being like, show me the money. You give me the money, and then I'm going to do the tasks that you're giving me. Give me the money first. Give me an extra 10,000 a year, and then I'm going to do the task that you're giving me. But I think that what is different for me now is that I realize not everything is like short game. Certain things are long game. Because if you show them a little bit of what you could do, a little bit at a time over a long enough period of time, they're going to get to the point where either they're forced to give you that position, or you go somewhere else and get it somewhere else. I don't feel like, to excuse the expression, but I don't feel like these jobs have me by the balls anymore. You know, like that's how I used to feel when I first started out. These jobs have me by the balls. I don't want to ask for too much, because if I ask for too much, they're just going to get rid of me. It's only happened basically twice in my work life, and both of those times were not for that reason and for things way beyond my control. But just in terms of me saying, I need more, I want more, give me what I'm worth, they have never got rid of me for that. Nobody has ever got rid of me for that. Nobody ever would if you're good at your job. And that's the other thing. You have to know yourself and know your worth. It's a must. Know yourself and know your worth. Because when you know your worth, when you enter into the conversation, when you know entering into the conversation, you set the tone, you lead the conversation. That's what I was trying to say. All right, it's good to negotiate with jobs. Yeah, that's true. And I'm here. So unfortunately, that means I have to jump off. But thanks for listening to my morning thoughts. And, like, comment, and subscribe. I hope y'all got something from this. I like to connect. I've been looking at looking for something. I've been realizing that I've been on here less and less, but I would like to get back on here a little bit more. I'm going to figure it out. Still figuring things out as I go. All right. Talk to y'all later.